Hello, good evening. Welcome to the third event from our series succinctly named Nigeria Days at the University of Warsaw. During today's lecture entitled Nigerian Creativity from Art Recycling to Total Projects, examples of Nigerian creativity based on an extraordinary approach to the existing environment will be presented. The lecture is going to be given by Dr. Malwina Bakalarska, who specializes in intercultural and visual communication and has been doing research on the cultures of West Africa with particular emphasis on Nigeria. Additionally, I would like to pinpoint that after the main part of the meeting, there's going to be some virtual space provided for your comments, ponderings, musings, and questions as well. For now, though, I'm giving the stage to our today's speaker.
Thank you very much. Thank you for inviting me. Thank you to be here. I'm very glad to participate in this event, especially that this is the first edition of Nigerian Days at the University of Warsaw. Also, I'm very happy to be a part of this project as a former member of the association, International Association of African Studies at the University of Warsaw. And also this is quite important for my whole research life, because I dedicated 12 years to investigate Nigerian society and Nigerian culture. I can say even Nigerian cultures. And this is the main specialization when it comes to African cultures and this region. So today I'm going to talk about Nigerian creativity. And at the beginning, I would like to ask you, do you see any differences between creativity and innovation and invention? So let's think a bit about etymology and the concept of these words. Could you share your ideas? How would you conceptualize the first term as creativity? And how do you see this term in the context of two others? So invention and innovation. I'm asking participants who are with us, maybe you have a possibility to switch on. Yes.
I don't like it very much, really, because I'm very active on this forum. But creativity, this is something really new to me. So this is something that you have to, maybe it's better and easier to explain by contrast to invention or innovation. Invention is something that you know something and you link things, and you put it into another context, and you innovating, give them the new purpose, the new significance. And creativity is something on the top of all of this. This is something what precedes everything. Maybe I'm wrong, but this is how I look at it.
Thank you so much, Mr. Kulczyk. It was a really good explanation. I think, in my opinion, that you are quite right, and your intuition is actually very similar to definition from the dictionary. And the creativity, in my opinion, according to the studies, is like on the top and cover, like an umbrella, those two terms like invention and innovation. Also, you can, like you said, that the invention is something what you invent when you have a basic knowledge about something. And it was a really good example which was given by you. And this illustration is from Nigeria. I took this picture in one of the university about all activities, science, art, humanities. So invention might be in so many areas. For contrary, innovation was linked with this new context. So, for example, we have something and we add some new context, some new purpose. So it might increase productivity, like on the example of this conference, which took place years ago. You can see on the poster. I also took this picture in Nigeria. It was conference organized at the UNILAG, so at the University of Lagos, the former capital of Nigeria, south. And this is also a different approach. So not the knowledge which we invent and we add some new information, but based on the what we have, we can develop, for example, new ways of the implementation of given possibilities. So, how would you describe this situation? Would it be innovation, creativity, or invention in your opinion? What would you say? I'm also asking everybody who are attending this lecture live. So if you are online with us, please, you can share your ideas.
Well, if I were to use an adjective, I'd call it creative, a creative solution, but I'm not trying to process all these differences between creativity and invention in order to, well, I'm not sure if I would call it innovation or invention for that. Now, I think creativity would be most fitting. I'm not sure how everybody else feels about it, but
I want to provoke all of you to think about this situation, because also the situation is the situation took place in Nigeria, and this kind of sense we can see in other places in Africa, and we had seen in Poland like 30 years ago, so it's nothing new. And just that to provoke you to think with this criticism, how we can understand the situation. Is it the situation which was adopted to the possibilities, or maybe something more? So before we started to dig into art and other areas, let's think about this common situations. So we had one opinion. Would you like to confront? If not, let's talk about the other situation, very common in African countries. This picture was taken also at in Lagos at the market, street market. And the situation when we reuse the same items for different purpose, like for example, after water, the plastic bottles, empty bottles after water or other sparkling beverages might be used for selling palm oil, for example, by single sellers. So would it be innovation or creativity, or just the situation which is related to the lack of other resources? How would you perceive this picture in the context of African cultures, or just as a way to perform on the market? Do you have any ideas?
I am not sure, but I cannot resist to the thing that, you know, in Chinese, there is a way of describing of things. One of the way is shaping them first, and then you adjust the function. This one of the way, this linguistic stuff. And actually, I don't think about it in categories of creativity, but rather, you know, you see the vessel and you can use it differently. So this is how I can see the situation. However, there is a momentum of creativity in this. The first person who did it, and the second who arranged the things like this, there was creation in this.
And then it was just the repetition, the way how we can use the same items for different purposes. Yeah, thank you so much. There are no good or wrong answers. I just want to provoke you to think differently and to dig these terms first. And here we have the situation which is not anymore present on the streets of Nigerian cities. It was like 12 years ago. I took this picture on the market in Lagos, where you could buy minutes of using the energy. So you can see on the picture, at the bottom of the picture, the panel with plugs, and you can charge your camera, your phone, your laptop, or do some other stuff if you need to take some equipment, technical equipment from your home, but you cannot afford to buy a fuel to use a private generator in the context of lacking of the public energy. So when I saw it, I thought, oh, this is a very creative approach to use this possibility to allow other people to use their equipment. And if you have any other comments, you can also now share with us how you perceive this solution. If not, we can move on. This is the billboard on the street of Lagos. Presented the Nigerian on the moon, as we can see the very significant picture. So Nigerian flag is put on the moon as a first African expedition to the space. And here, this is, you can see the advertisement of MTN company. MTN company is a very big African company from South Africa. It's a mobile operator as well as a television operator. And this is also, when I saw it, for example, for me, from my private point of view, I saw the power of creativity, how Nigerian perceives themselves and how they want to promote not only the products but also the idea what they can do with the ideas and creativity. And the other option is closer to the topic of the today presentation, how we can perceive the difference between creativity and creativeness. Do you have any examples? What could be creativity, and could you give the example of creativeness?
I can't think of specific examples at the moment, but maybe it has something to do, although it's surprising for me to think about. Creativity is like the energy itself, creativity, this ability to create, this willingness to create, this drive to create, but creativeness maybe is creating, as in like producing
Yes, yes, exactly.
factual things.
Exactly. So this is the act of creating, producing something, and it might be not related to something new, but just with productivity, for example, with doing something, not at the area, for example, of art or technical innovation. So it's good to have these terms in mind, looking into different activities and social situations, to analyze the intention and also the way how it is presented. So not only what was the purpose and the reason to act in such way, but also the way how it is presented. Is it presented purposely or, for example, randomly? So maybe it's too much at the beginning, this theoretical introduction, but later I hope you will see the reason of such approach. First of all, with this second term, I wanted to take your attention into the first adverts, which we can see in more poorer areas in Western African countries, not only in Nigeria, also in Nigeria, but in Nigeria, posters, printed posters are more common instead of this kind of paintings. So the lack of money to print paper poster took people to write something on the, to draw something on the wall. So they use something what they had to present what they can offer to the clients. The other way you can see is the posters on the right side. So also some kind of invention and witness, but in a more common way, a more traditional way to present. The next step would be this way of presenting something what was for users, for clients. This is also the signboards. These are signboards hairdresser using some icons from the politics area. And do you think, is it the creativity to use some kind of popular people to advert your activities and the way what you do, using the faces and the associations which might come up in the minds of potential clients?
Well, it's creative marketing because it mixes something that's commonplace every day, like a visit at a hairdresser's with comedy. And I think that it has, well, the intention was a little bit comedy oriented, maybe not direct, but still, yeah, comical maybe.
Yeah. So it's nice that you mentioned this creative marketing, because this is something what was now in many countries in professional agencies it is using to attract clients. But before the companies decided to use this kind of approach, it was already invented by Africans who were trying to communicate they not only items or offer, but also to create, to increase imagination of their clients. Why so? Because African cultures are this oral cultures based on oral tradition, and in oral stories, verbal stories, and visual stories, it's very important to sparkle the imagination of people who are listening or watching these pictures and stories. So I can say that it was like the first step, unconscious step of creating marketing, creative marketing. Here we can see something what is very common, like artist who paints very popular people as well as not popular people. And what I have seen at this situation, I also categorized as creativity. What would be creativity in this situation, in your opinion? Do you have any ideas? Is it any creativity in this on this picture? Do you see any creativity?
For me, this is just an idea to put these faces on this awful wall. This is really striking. Maybe this sub-core communication, you know, you want to have a nice flat, we can do everything with your flat, for example, something like this.
Mm-hmm. It's very interesting, this this approach. For me, I can share also with you what was interesting when I was taking this picture, that it was along the big road, and it was the way, of course, to attract clients to buy the picture or to order for themselves, the new one, but also the situation which you can see without the artist. So the artist is doing something else in this time. Instead of waiting for clients, he or she hung the information above the pieces of his or her art, and just leave the contact number to him or her. So this is the innovation to use time for me when, for example, you are a very mobile person and you can use this amount of time to do something else instead of waiting at some point. So by leaving the information, call the artist and to leave the phone number, I think it's very it increased productivity, like we have said at the beginning, according to this picture from the conference, innovation and productivity. So it might be seen in this context that a part of creation, like we have said a few minutes ago, that the act of creation was done because there are pictures. Also, the way how it was presented, it's a way of creativity in this context of in the context of productivity. I'm sorry, I feel a little bit dizzy today. Maybe that's why I'm not so sparkling as usual. Please forgive me. And the other things which we know from many developing countries is this recycling movement, where we can use something what was used when it was for other purposes, and this famous slippers made of rubber and used now by different way. So this is very popular popular item from East Africa. This one is the example of recycling art from South Africa, especially from Republic of South Africa. In townships, this kind of art starting to develop to allow people, citizens from these areas to earn some money, to sell this kind of items to the tourists. So the source was for free, and just the act of creativity was the way how they could earn money by selling this kind of recycling art. And now on this kind of examples, I wanted to share with you the pictures from departments of art from different Nigerian universities. And students which were studying applied science and art, because very often art is combined with technology, science, or some technical departments. They were asked to prepare some sculptures referring to the traditional African shape or topic, using everything what surrounded them. So we can see here how it was used from the top of this of the bottle, and how it was presented in a big scale and in a small scale. all of these items were collected and selected to create some small pictures, and then to put together in a bigger size. So from what was the intention of the artist, of this student, was the situation when we can select reality by some kind of topic, one topic. So it wasn't a random selection, but from many weeks, the person was collecting the pieces for his art, and at the end, it was contained in one piece of sculpture. This is also the zoom on what kind of beverages it was used. So we can see that beer and also some sparkling beverages were used to do this, and also the other kind of sculpture, also based on some pieces which was found on the street. And do you see what was the original object from the person who was trying to get the pieces of this object? Do you see the original object from this?
Motorbike.
Of course, yeah, and it is very for me and from my perspective, creativity to show two different way of transport by horse and by motorbike, and now we can see that it is made of modern way of transport item, and this is the some kind of reference to the more traditional way of transport by mixing this topic and the products which were used to make this sculpture. And here there is a set of sculptures from Yabatek. This is the some kind of polytechnic in Lagos, also from the Department of Art. And you can see the pieces of metal, and you can see also some part of pieces of different materials which were used in the way of Egyptian mummies, and it is not the way of the random connection, but also it is the reference to the mythology that Nigerians who came to the area of Kingdom of Benin where their ancestors were from Egypt, and the Kingdom of Benin was the oldest kingdom of Nigeria, the source of Nigerian current cultures from the south, we can also claim. And it is also the dialogue with the history and mythology and the way how people perceive their identity. On On the other hand, now we can see some sculptures. This is also made of cans, and here the man is made of many cans and other parts taken from different items. The same like here, also a little bit more abstractive art on the right side, and very significant on the left, with some sign how it is made by a woman artist, how the masculinity might be seen by women, that this part of man is like a gun, which might kills the woman, not directly, not literally, but also in this metaphoric way. And here also the situation when the art was based on recycling, but what do you see in the shape of this piece of art? Do you see some reference to something what is very popular or common in Nigerian culture or African cultures?
For now, I can't think of anything. Would have to spend some more time on it.
Let me help you. This is another example of this kind of approach, using lots of waste and especially metal and bronze items. And this is more structured and directly referring to the traditional masks. So it is a very direct reference. For example, this is more artistic way of expression of, for example, like we can see the topic stranger, but this is the direct reference to the traditional masks, the way how it was shaped, the shape by itself. The intention was to connect traditional masks with the new approach of to the abstract art. Also, what is very important to emphasize that at the beginning of such a movement in art, Nigerian art, wasn't the ideology of ecology, but rather the lack of other resources. So in Europe, for example, we tend to use this approach like zero waste to care about the environment and fresh air and decrease the pollution. But in this context, it was the first reason was to do something in the context of lack of resources. So the situation provokes artists to use this kind of items, and now we can call it a recycling art, but it wasn't the first intention of the artist. Like maybe you remember when we were analyzing the topics, I mentioned about intention and the way of presentation, what kind of intention was in the mind of artists and the way of presentation. So this is the time to think about it. What was the context and intention? The technique and the material which is used very often by Nigerian artists is, like we said, bronze, this way of metal and stone. Here you can see also the other examples of this kind of sculptures. And why so? This is the first bronze masks from Benin Kingdom. Benin city in southern Nigeria nowadays is just the city, but in the past it was the kingdom. The region was a kingdom before British colonizers came and established the new borders of current Nigeria. On the right side, maybe some of you can recognize very famous historical person. Do you remember? Who was it on this masks on the right side?
Seems like on Oba of Benin, but I'm not sure if it's. I can't name a specific name, but I think it's from not from the early days of the kingdom, but from at least like the middle era, because on his head there are Portuguese. I think Portuguese man, so it must have been like 15th or 16th century, but I can't name
exactly. Yes, it's 16th century. Actually, this kind of masks were made and are still are making for Obas. So it means the king of Yorubas, people from Ile-Ife, from Benin city. This is actually the Queen Idia, the most dangerous and cruel emperor in the history of Nigeria. She was the mother of future king as well, but before she passed the throne, she was fighting with colonizers, Portuguese, as you mentioned, and around her head there are all people who were killed by her. So this is like the symbol of her power, that these people who were against her were killed by her, and this is the symbol of her power. On the left side also it's the mask of Oba, so like the local king, and especially in this region, till nowadays, I have visited this place like a few years ago, and it's still very popular under UNESCO protection. This area of bronze sculptures, where still nowadays artists are and craftsmen, because this is also a very significant difference. They are creating bronze sculptures. So all what we have seen before, the modern art, the recycling art, is referring first of all to the original material and the way how it was made, traditional way, and also to the shape and traditional cultural context, like the shape of a mask. So this is, from my perspective, like a dialogue with the tradition and with the identity, how we can use the traditional identity with the modern approach, with how we perceive as Nigerians our place in the modernity, and how we can use the items which are surrounding us for daily life. So I think that many of current Nigerian sculpturers they try now to use this more conscious approach with what they are doing, not only for what they see, but also what they can pass to the society, how they can talk and discuss with the historical context and also the cultural context. And now you can see the different type of art. This one, it is the picture which was at the poster of our today lecture, today presentation. You can see the size of the big portrait of the dean of Faculty of Art, University of Lagos, and the department is also very broad, contains sociology and linguistics departments. So you can see from the bigger and smaller scale how it was made, and it was made of so many items, starting from the face, and you can see that someone who was doing this had to have the this painter approach to see colors and shadows to shape the face shape, like shaping by colors, and also by these other items which you can see on the left and on the right. So this clipboard and some part from plastic boxes, cans, everything what was useless and recycled again for the purpose of art, of creation, a new thing. And at the end, I would like to show you something what wasn't presented before. Actually, I took this picture like 7 years ago, and I've never shared this innovation with the Polish public before. So this is like the premiere, and for me it was the most the act of creativity which I have seen in Nigeria during my all times when I have been to Nigeria. What do you think? What it might be? What do you see actually on the picture?
Spacecraft.
Yeah, and also the shape looks like that. It's very important to have a look on the flag, Nigerian flag, the board, pride of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, and this is the same from the backside. So this attention which was made into the country context, not only the inventor, that he didn't put his name on the item on this vehicle, but he emphasized the very popular slogan, pride of being Nigerian, pride of Nigeria. So this is very popular slogan in Nigeria and among Nigerians. He spent this place, which usually can presents the author, for the country. And also this is what he was showing us when he was explaining that he was testing this vehicle also in the water and in different places with different weather, and everywhere it worked. So the person was very proud of his vehicle. Also, here you could have seen the pictures of a current president and vice president of Nigeria. So also he put the pictures of the politicians of his country. So everything was like the example manifestation of this idea which you have seen on the billboard, the signboard presented the MTN network. Do you remember when the Nigerian was on the moon with the Nigerian flag? So this is like the need of Nigerians to emphasize not only their ideas, but also the dreams of the whole nation to achieve something special, something really extraordinary. And now I will show you the short movie. So for now, I'm stopping sharing the presentation, and we are going to see the movie on YouTube. So I hope you will have the possibility to see. Do you see now the screen?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
So that's it. I put it on YouTube, this short movie, to avoid any problems, technical problems. And now it's a time for reflections, questions, comments. And once again, I'm sorry for my being a little bit dizzy during the lecture. I hope now we can talk more lively.
Well, I could add, if there are no more questions for the time being, or reflections, that one of the slides that you showed with these big cubes with bottle caps, it reminded me of this artist from Ghana who actually worked in Nigeria for some time, and is, I think, tied to Nigeria as well. Anatsui, I always fail to remember what the pronunciation is, who uses bottle caps. He creates gigantic pieces in galleries mostly, I think. He's not this outside kind of an artist, if you will. Bottle caps, he uses some other workers, physical workers, that help him connect all these metal parts of bottle caps, and he creates those big pictures that look like, I know, a waterfall maybe, that flow from the top of the ceiling to the ground. And you can, the participants, if they're engaged in some kind of gallery visiting exhibitions, they can pick it and merge it in some other way and restructure it. So that's the artist that that particular picture reminded me of. I also like the picture showing who I presume to be a Yoruba man because he was holding this talking drum, this big talking drum, and it was built, I remember, from some kind of metal bars and pipes. So yeah, that's what I wanted to say. So there's
Yes, true. And it's good that you mentioned the name of these drums, talking drums, yeah. And this kind of sculptures are seen in many, many cities and places in Nigeria. I have presented the lecture during the night of museums, like it was two years ago. It's on YouTube. In Polish Academy of Sciences about street art, and also I was analyzing these sculptures and monuments along the streets and in the squares, because this is the very common architectural structure to put this kind of sculptures, but usually they are made of stone and in a bigger size. In the city of roundabout, the main roundabout of the city, if they are small cities, and also in the main buildings of the city, like in front of Oba Palace or some traditional rulers, not only Obas, because Obas we are having them on the south of Nigeria, but on the north, this is different culture, so a little bit different context by presenting these places. So yes, talking drums, it's the way how they usually communicate also information in this context of oral tradition, when there was the tradition to pass information by singing and drumming on drums with some signals and special way of communicating in a long distance. Just the extra information, just that.
Sure. Sure. Any other questions or reflections?
So maybe rather reflection, or maybe I put a camera, although I'm not in with the tie. So thank you. This was very nice, very nice presentation and very nice way of thinking. However, for me it's a little bit sad, and I'm thinking whether this is art or craft. So this is, you know, especially this slide with telephone on the wall. By side there was another telephone with these pictures, with these presidential pictures on the wall by the highway. So this is abnormal situation actually, because you have to market yourself, of course, you have to be known, but you know, the European way is to make a noise. The European noise, the European way is to advertise yourself by controversy, by happening, by something like this. And in here you've got something like I make nice sweets, I make furniture, I make, I was really thinking, you were talking about creativity, and I was thinking about those poor artists that have to do things like this. Maybe you know what is the market for this, actually. So who is the customer of those guys? Whether it's companies, whether they are supported by the state. if there is a faculty of art, it means that there is a market, that there is a need for such a people, yes?
To summarize your reflection, first of all, I understand that you would like to craft from art, right?
Mm-hmm.
First of all, that for you, it's rather crafting that creativity by artists.
Well, it's not that easy because craft is some kind of creativity, and the examples which you showed are very very strong creativity. That's sure, but creativity is when you've got the freedom of the things, of the thought. This is the European way. This, in the background, I still have this comparison of Europe and Western world,
Yes,
and Africa. That and this is not only a physical situation, but it's only a mental situation.
yes,
Because you see, so this is. You know, there are galleries in Africa that are showing the pictures, that are showing the sculptures, etc. But what you showed, the examples that you showed, provoked me to such a thinking that these guys who make these sculptures, this kind of mosaics or something like this, they are rather craftsmen, and this is. I cannot resist the thing, especially after you told that Yaptek, yes, this
Yabatek.
Yabatek, yes. I verified the website in the meantime. This is a technical university actually.
Yes.
And this is, you know, for me, this is the pure Africa, that you use the materials that you've got and you reshape them to create something new. But actually, if you think about it from the philosophical point of view, this is not a pure creation. This is not a pure process of creation. This is typical for craftsmen. This is the way. This is not European way of thinking about art, and this is my point. This is difficult to discuss, and I even didn't work it out, but this is what I wanted after all to know. Maybe this would help you simply to proceed with your thoughts. But whether these guys have this is the effect of the market, this effect of their product of the world in which they exist. And whether they've got the support of the state, whether they've got the support of the, I don't know, high class, which creates the need for the objects of the art. Do you know something about it?
Yes, yes. It's very good that you emphasize the different approach, the way of Western thinking and African thinking. Actually, for many years, I was analyzing this intercultural studies, how we can talk in terms of our Western categories to describe African reality. So this is a very important point of view, because this is the reason why I started with these terms, analyzing terms and asking you, what do you think about these terms? And also somehow you are right that this is, it might be perceived as a craft, that they are not artists but craftsmen, but also I mentioned the intention. You remember I was talking about what was the intention of this person who was creating some item, and how we can perceive it. So two different ways, and I was trying to analyze this from two different points of view. First, from my ethnocentric point of view, this European point of view, and how I was taught during my philosophical studies, how, for example, aesthetics and other art might be analyzed. And from the local point of view, also talking with these artists and asking them questions about the purpose. So very often they do something because they feel they want to do. And this is like also two different groups of artists. One of them, this is like the discourse of what is art, what is design, what is craft. Also, I was studying at the Academy of Fine Arts, and we were deliberating this kind of areas, how to understand where is the border between craft and art, and how we can perceive the design, like we have Instytut Wzornictwa Przemysłowego, and very often we have the items which we can perceive as a craft, but because of the purpose, right? The intention, it is the intention to be used. But very often artists in Nigeria, we can divide them from what I have analyzed, and I was doing this for 14 years, that they are artists who have just this skills to create something, to sell, to look for the market, and the other artists who are doing because they feel they want to do it. They need to do it. And very often we can see that they don't ask about the expectations of the market. They don't have support from the government, neither federal nor state government, because there are two levels of government system in Nigeria. Very often they just start to do something, and then they will look for opportunities how to sell it, find customers, how to send this piece of work somewhere. And this is very, very popular, approach. But also there are galleries in Nigeria. In Lagos, we have a very famous Nike gallery, which I was presented during my lecture at the Staromieski Dom Kultury. It was maybe 1 year ago or 2 years ago, about this art market in Nigeria. So this artist, she created her own gallery in Lagos, New York, Abuja, and Ile-Ife. First time I saw her gallery in Ile-Ife, Oshogbo. Actually, it was in Oshogbo, the roots of Yoruba people, and who are buying this art, which is presented in professional galleries. First of all, Africans who live abroad, and foreigners. The museum of National Museum of Nigeria, which is in Lagos, it's very poor and it's very neglected by the Ministry of Culture and Tourism. Sorry. And usually this activity is uprised by private artists or designers. There is also another gallery, Intercultural, also in Lagos, and the newest gallery based in the hotel for foreigners. So there is a new, I can tell you the name of this place. And on the one hand, there is a hotel, and on the area of there is also Bogobiri House. It's the name of the hotel, and also there is a gallery of modern Nigerian art. Very often, this art reflects on the traditional art. So this is the one situation, and very often I cooperated with local artists, also dancers and musicians, and filmmakers who were trying to come to Poland for some festival or look for some grants or sponsors, and they already had some piece of art. So they are collecting, they are creating spontaneously because they need this, because they feel it. Very often they live in some kind of squats, looking for money from week to week, day to day, in stable economical situation, but they are creating and then looking for the opportunity to sell it, to show to people. But also we have this kind of artists who just want to sell portraits, for example, or some other pictures to tourists, and they are working on the street or on the, they're putting the pieces of art to the gallery, but not art gallery, but like a shopping mall gallery. Mm-hmm. So this is not one way of intention. Of course, this touristic art on the airports, but it's not so popular, like for example in South Africa or Kenya, where you can find these mass items. They are product by without any intention of creating art, just repeating. This is what in Chinese language was the most valuable due to the Confucianism philosophy. Mm-hmm. And repeat. Also, if you are from this field of Chinese studies, I can refer you to or recommend to go to the website africansinAsia.com, where I presented my studies on africansinAsia.com on Nigerian migration to China and to Malaysia. And due to this project, I was learning Chinese language for a few years, so I understand this what you have said before. And there are totally big difference between this Nigerian approach and Chinese approach. So according to this creation, without this repetition, rather this creativity approach is present in Nigerian culture, I would say.
Very nice. Really, thanks. I would like to thank, excuse me, because your presentation was very
Long.
no, it was very, it pushed me in interesting directions. But to all of the people who organize it. There are many people or just one man? How is it? However, this is very good. This is very good idea with this Nigerian days. I've never been to Nigeria, but very interesting.
Yes, the Mr. Emilian Mucha, who is hidden by the name of Dr. Marta-David Bech, our dean from the Faculty of Oriental Studies, was the organizer, and I also thank him a lot, and the cooperation with the president of this Association of African Studies at the University of Warsaw is very fruitful, and this is the second or third time when we have the opportunity to cooperate. So also thank you very much, Mr. President Emilian Mucha, who invented this new series.
Thank you. Thank you for the lecture. Thank you for the participation. And I would also like to remind you about the last lecture on Friday, not on Thursday, because tomorrow on Thursday, there's going to be this Seminarium Afrikanistyczne. So I didn't want it to, I didn't want them to collide. So the last lecture is going to be on Friday. It's going to be a lecture by Patrick Zając from the Chair of African Languages and Cultures, entitled Cultural Interpretation of African Proverbs as a Means to Understand Their Message. And for now, I wish you a blessed evening.
Hallelujah.